All right, let's do it live on a Friday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily. I am merely Beau, the great Gibby here. How you doing, buddy, on this Friday?
Better than you, man. The heart rate up a little bit. Had to come in hot and heavy.
Well, we had I don't know what you do. A quick Google search, I guess, solved it. But as I got in the vehicle to head over here, it just froze.
Not
Wouldn't
ideal.
move. And it is electric, and so it's not like I could just kick the carburetor because it doesn't have one. And so it is a computer. And so I'm thinking I don't know what to do here. It was just sitting in reverse still in the driveway. Less than ideal. But a quick Google, and it was basically like restarting a computer.
That's
Hold
crazy.
2 buttons down.
Like my phone, where you hold the 2 buttons on the side and
resetting a phone.
Resetting.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
But
it's the first time it's happened. I've had it since 2019. I haven't had this is the first experience with that of a meltdown.
at least you were home. You weren't at an intersection.
You said
somewhere,
it, buddy.
Because,
That would be a
ultimately, you
lot
could have
less
worked
than
from
ideal.
home today if we needed to.
Yes, I could have. But I was at the same time, like your point is well taken. Like, I don't know what happens if that happens at a light.
And by the way, you can't exactly take that to a regular shop.
No.
That's a specialty item.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, there's certain places one certain place that can work on it, and that's about it. It's a job for one in that sense. So I don't know. We made it, and
You
thrilled to
did.
be
You
here,
made it with
and-
time to spare. I thought
Yeah,
you'd be
little
coming
bit
in
of time.
super hot.
No. Yeah, you're safe, pal. Came in just fine. So everything going good on that side of things. We are day 2 of the children's summer vacation on the Ponderosa, and that's going swimmingly. I at one point looked at my wife this morning as my oldest was making another breakfast spread that included smoothies and eggs and berries and all of this stuff, and he's pouring stuff around. To his credit, he did a pretty good job of cleaning it up. Yesterday I had to ride him pretty hard.
Yep.
But he did clean it up pretty good today. And I look over at my wife, and she's got some sort of illness. And so she's – well, not illness. She has a cold. But she's like just laying on the couch. I'm like, can you engage? Are we going to engage in this? Where are we? Doing the show. Like, what's going on here? I feel like the inmates are running the asylum. We're like 2 days in.
What was Bootsy's day 2 summer vacation meal? I told my wife about this last night.
Oh, yeah, he's real excited. He was real excited yesterday to get it going in style. Yeah, I mean, he's off to a great start. He was off to a great start. My demerit, I told you I do the demerits now where there's certain things that they do. What matters most to them appears to be bedtime. So any time that there is any sort of violation, not picking stuff up or, whatever, then it's a 5-minute demerit per violation. So they're not going to be real thrilled about this. But tonight, this afternoon, before I got in the car, before I headed over here, they had to go to like Great Escape or something to pick something up for the pool. And so they had left, and the basement, all the lights were on in the basement.
Not
Food
great.
wrappers, Xbox was on, television was on. I mean, you're talking a 5-minute demerit for each. We're going to be going to bed at like 8:45 tonight, boys.
I'm going to feed
Going
you
to bed
dinner
early.
from your bedroom at the rate we're going.
That's right.
It'll be great.
Hey, do you know what happened 15 years ago today?
15?
15 years ago today.
I do not.
Sopranos' final episode.
Really?
Yeah, 15 years ago today, which made me feel old
Yeah?
that it had been that long, and B, made me revisit how that ended. And I'm sure you were probably like, we're of similar age, and so I was watching in real time.
Yes.
When it
Same.
happened. Yeah. And your thought in real time when that happened at the end was what?
I need more. What? You can't end like that.
Wait, what?
No. Wrong.
Cable was out, was what you thought. I mean, I thought the cable blipped.
Yeah.
Like the electricity went out, cable went out. It just went to black for several seconds, and wait, that's it? This is how we're ending it? Like, that's it? So at the start of the pandemic, my wife hadn't seen it, so we started. I said, "Well, I'll rewatch it with you from the start." I hadn't seen it in, the early episodes in 20 years. I think those started pre 9/11. That show, I think.
Yes,
for sure, because the Twin Towers were in the opening.
Yep.
So that's probably late 90s when that thing starts, and so I hadn't seen it in a long, long time. And so we watched it in more of a binge mode situation. And it's funny, in real time, I don't know that I necessarily connected. I didn't necessarily think emphatically that he was dead.
No, I didn't. I did not think of that either.
I didn't think of it that way. But then in rewatching it, I think it's absolutely perfectly clear that he died. And David Chase has said so since. But even in rewatching it, you're like, oh yeah. I mean, all of the bricks were laid, But we weren't watching it. We weren't watching television in that way, where one episode after another. Heck, one of those seasons they had a writer's strike, and it was like 18 months between seasons on that show.
So it ran from January 10th, 1999 through June 10th, 2007.
Jeez. So that's 8 years, and is it 6 seasons? Season 2 is the Richie Aprile. Season 3.
8 seasons? Well, it says 6 seasons.
Yeah, that's
because there was not one in.
And the 6th season is split, so it's actually kind of like 5.
And by the way, like the season 1 was in '99, season 2 in 2000, season 3 in 01, season 4 in 02. They didn't do one in 03.
Yeah.
So they did one in 04. They did not do one in 05.
Yeah.
And a writer's strike had to be one of those two.
One of those 2 years, yeah.
And then season 6 was 06, 07.
They split it. They did like 6 episodes or whatever each. Yeah. It was that set off everything that's happened in television since, like the Prestige TV, the Anti-Hero, all of that. It's all. There are other shows that were around that time too, like The Wire was around that time, Oz was around that time. There's a show on FX called The Shield that had an anti-hero, Michael Chiklis and that. So there were others that did it, but this definitely paved the way for Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones, all this stuff. I understand Game of Thrones is an anti-hero, but in terms of big money prestige television, Sopranos kicked it off. I mean, this is a show like Yellowstone. As improbable as that Yellowstone is the #1 television show on television on Paramount, it was equally as improbable that The Sopranos on HBO was going to be something that 15 million people would see on a pay service.
You could argue that HBO had as good a lineup as NBC at the time, because NBC, had the must-see TV theme, and their Thursday lineup. HBO was right up there. I mean, all of their programs.
They had that would have been you definitely would have had Sex and the City was on at that time. You would have had Sopranos. You would have had The Wire. You would have had Deadwood and Rome. Both were around that time. Those are both outstanding.
You had Band of Brothers.
Band of Brothers hit at that time. Yeah, they had a lot of strong.
They were putting out stuff, and like you said, it wasn't. You couldn't binge watch it unless you bought season 1 like on DVD.
Yeah,
where you had like the 4 DVDs, and you're like,
but there was no HBO on demand or HBO Max or whatever the heck it is now. Like it was, you watched it when it was on, and that was your shot, unless you recorded it on VHS or whatever, or that, like to your point, get the DVDs.
6 seasons, 86 episodes.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Yeah,
so
it was great. It holds up. I mean, the first season's slow. In retrospect, the first season is a little slow compared to how television is now. But once it picks up, second half of the first season, and then the rest of the way, it holds up really,
from
really well.
From a twist and turn standpoint, maybe as good a show as any.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's a Pantheon.
You never
program.
know who was going to get
uh-uh.
taken out on a week-to-week basis.
No, you didn't. Did you see this yesterday as well? We spent a little bit of time yesterday on the show talking about the Live Golf thing. Did you see the Alan Shipnuck dust up yesterday?
No.
So Alan Shipnuck is the golf writer who is the one who released the quotes from Mickelson that got Mickelson in trouble. And I'm pretty sure on the show we were debating how that happened, like how those quotes got out. Was he on the record? Was he off? That's something, we talk about all the time, like, when we do scores and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Like, on the record in our medium is pretty straightforward. If you're on this program, you're on the record. If the red light's on, it's on.
Yep.
And I've always viewed, I don't know where you feel about this, but even in television where it was even more obvious that the camera was on with the giant red light literally on the camera. I always viewed that everything that was said to me when that was off the record. That was for color for me, background for me as I'm telling the story, but I would never quote anybody on any of that. The only stuff that I quote is while the camera's running. Print's a little different because you have tape recorders.
Yep.
Is this rolling? Is it not? I've never been a print journalist, so I have no idea if they're like, okay, and now we're on. I don't know what that's like. My hunch is that Phil didn't think this was on the record when he said what he said. Shipnuck clearly did and actually doubled down on that when Mickelson said he didn't know and said, no, he was. Fast forward to yesterday, live event in London. Shipnuck's there. Now, he wrote a biography on Phil. It's unauthorized, but he wrote a biography on Phil. Phil was interviewed for it, which is where this information came from. He was there yesterday, and he tweeted that two guys forcibly removed him from the presser.
Okay.
Okay? So you've seen this now.
Yeah, now I know who you're talking about.
So he's tweeting it, that he's being removed, so forth. Then he tweets a screen grab. So in the meantime, like if you see the video, Mickelson is talking as he's being removed.
Yeah. Forcibly
removed. And Phil Mickelson's at the podium talking. So this is how absurd this is. So he then tweets out a screen grab of a text exchange between him and Greg Norman where he says, hey, Greg, just so you know, 2 of your goons just removed me. Luckily, I was cool-headed, and so this didn't escalate. Norman goes, give me a call so we can talk about this. Norman responds back, I didn't know. Thanks for letting me know. Shipnuck responds back, interesting that you didn't know, with a screen grab of the 2 guys forcibly removing him and Greg Norman 5 feet behind him.
In the background.
Going like this.
Yep. Things are going to get contentious. Look, I'm sorry, but if you've made the decision to play on the PGA or at the Live Tour, you should be forced to talk about it.
Yeah, it's a whole deal. Like, yeah, of course. And they were talking. It was just a matter of, like, this guy not being allowed or Mickelson didn't want him there. That was kind of the strange thing. Is like Mickelson was like, I don't want him there. And so Norman had the guys remove him, which is pretty wild. It's a shame that that story has so many layers because of the Saudi backing and all of that, and appropriately being questioned about all of it. It's essentially, what's your price?
Yeah.
Really, if you get down to it, it's not about golf. It's not really about sport. It just happens to be sport. It happens to be golf. But the root of the issue is much more straightforward. What are you willing to do for how much? So every one of us has that conversation. And so that, I think, is what makes that whole thing so interesting. I had it on a little bit this morning. It's fine. It's back to it's just golf at this point. The curiosity's off, and so it's just golf at a place that I hadn't seen golf until yesterday. But I'm curious to see where this all goes. And they got DeChambeau today.
Correct. And isn't the U.S. Open next week?
Next week. Yeah.
Are these guys playing in it?
They are.
They?
The ones that are eligible are. There was some rumor this morning that Augusta was going to, like, respond to Augusta was going to have a stance on this at some point today, and that's surprising to me because it's not like Augusta to do a statement for sake of statement.
Correct.
Like, they'll do that next year. They're so far from their term, and I would be surprised that they would wade into it if they didn't have to.
Augusta doesn't have to do anything that they do or don't want to do.
No, and I would be shocked I'd be shocked if Augusta cared.
Yeah.
About where these guys play. I don't think they view it as. I mean, they transcend the tour, so I don't sense that that's anything that they would care about. So I was a little bit surprised to hear that. Next week we will have a steady dose of football. We will have mandatory minicamp next week. The schedule, our guys will get back here on Monday. There'll be some stuff here at the facility on Monday. Tuesday will be the practice here. That would be a full day practice, getting after it practice to a certain extent as much as you can at mandatory minicamp these days under the rules of the CBA. And then Wednesday down in Canton.
Just a brief, quick
workout, right? Like that's
30 minutes.
Yeah, half hour. And then I think that it'd be fun to talk to our guys. Now I know they're going to scatter afterwards, but it would be fun to talk to our guys after they go through the hall to see what their view of it was, because my guess is maybe none of them have been.
Outside of maybe the rookie classes from the last couple of years.
Yeah, because they've been making those guys have been going down there, right? Yeah. But like the veterans, I
was going to say I would venture to guess the majority of the veterans on this football team have never been to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, they've done a great job. I mean, the folks down in Canton do a great job with it. It's going to be awesome. And then on Thursday, you will have the practice at the stadium, and then you're out, and that's a wrap.
And that should be about a 90-minute practice. I think it won't be one of those shortened days. Yeah. I think they'll get after it that day too, because that'll be their one day essentially at the stadium. Might be their only time between now and their first home preseason game, because of all the events that are coming to the stadium.
What do we got going on this summer? Are we get concerts and such?
Yeah, we have concerts, and I believe July 2nd, Saturday night, Monster Jam, tearing out the turf. All
like
the big
trucks?
Yeah, the big trucks.
The monster trucks are coming?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So there's something at the end of July. We need to throw some weight around. We need to throw some head honchoism around, because we need to get a spot. But Top Golf is coming to the stadium.
Oh, they're gonna do. Oh,
they're
gonna
do that at First Energy.
Well, we should do the show there one day.
I agree.
And do it
from a bay.
From a bay.
From a bay.
Yes. One of the top bays.
Yes.
Yeah. That's how it needs to be. I'm for that. That's a great time.
Top Golf in general?
Yeah.
Yes.
Great time. And what's cool about it is it really doesn't matter how good you are.
No.
So it's anybody can play and have a good time. I was surprised by that experience. It was a win.
I think that's what got my sister kind of hooked into golf, because she's now in a women's league on Wednesday nights, but she and her girlfriends they go to Top Golf all the time in the winter. My nephews,
it's great in the winter.
Yeah, which I never would have expected until I was there myself in a December night and was blown away. And you're literally facing into the wind.
Right. Yeah, no, we did my oldest Peyton's birthday there a couple years ago. And that was December 19th. It's great. Yeah, it was absolutely great. All right, we will go around the league. Some interesting stuff coming out. Again, it's just a little bit of noise out of Baltimore with Lamar. Not all is good in the land of crab cakes and football. So we will get to that. You'll hear from Alex Van Pelt with Z. That exclusive interview will come up a little bit later. Bobby had a lot of questions. We'll get to some of those. Anthony Poisal will join us. Our staff writer will join us. We'll break down and get you set for what you expect to see in mini camp. You have that to look forward to, which is nice, a little higher or lower as well. We're off and running on a Friday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. My friends, the Bath Authority could give you that bathroom of your dreams. They can do it for you in about a day. You want a spa-like experience? You give my guys a call, 216-220-8399. Let them make it a reality for you at a fraction of the cost of the competitors. The Bath Authority is Cleveland's premier bath and shower remodeler. They are experts. They are factory trained. They're ready to install. If you give them a call right now, you get $500 off your next custom bath or shower remodel. That number is 216-220-8399. To go to thebathauthority.com. It's where affordability meets quality. You need to do a tub-to-shower conversion. They got you covered on that. Superior Products, expert installers at thebathauthority.com and at 216-220-8399 as we go around the league. This from Florio. So he comes up with 3 reasons why it's icy between Lamar and the Ravens. Now, we've talked about this since the Combine. You got a sense of it there that something wasn't right. He is allegedly going to be at mandatory minicamp next week. He has not participated in the OTAs. He has not. So this is where Florio is with this. The Ravens are ready to offer him an extension, but he won't engage them in negotiations. So that's why Harbaugh has these awkward pressers where he's, saying things like, that's really up to Lamar.
Yeah, he's not here.
He's not here. There's not much we can, all of this. So Florio has come up with 3 options as he sees them for why an extension isn't done. So they are in order. Number 1, he wants out of Baltimore. I don't think he wants out of Baltimore.
No, as Florio said, Jackson has denied such chatter, but until he signs a new contract, it remains a distinct possibility.
It's hard for me to imagine it. I mean, he's so beloved there. They've done about everything that they can to empower him there.
Agreed.
They've built everything around him there. It's hard for me to imagine that he would want out of Baltimore. But who knows? You never know. He wants the Ravens to offer him a market-setting contract without the burden of negotiation. Yeah, I think that's real likely. That's that one to me is very, very believable. Number 3, he doesn't know what he wants. That's not believable. I'm pretty sure it's 2. That he probably says to himself, I am an MVP of this league, a unanimous MVP of this league. I am the fulcrum of this entire offense. I should be compensated at the very highest of levels. And at the very highest of levels is the deal that was done here for Deshaun. So you're talking $230 million guaranteed, and he's going to say, "Well, I need $240 guaranteed." So, and honestly, I don't know how you could argue it. Like 5 years, $250. I don't know how you argue it.
I guess my argument is, how much have you won with him? Can you get to the next level with him, knowing full well that no wide receiver wants to come there and play?
Well, that's all of that's the reality is all reality of it. But from a winning quarterback record, I'm pretty sure his quarterback record is better than Deshaun's.
And he's a former MVP.
He's a unanimous MVP. Now, I don't think anybody from a football product would take Lamar over Deshaun because of obviously the hang-ups in terms of moving the ball down the field as a passer. But from his vantage point and from he's critical to their operation. But it's tricky. I don't know. And there's going to be more of these. Like what you're seeing here with him is going to be repeated in Cincinnati with Burrow, in L.A. with Herbert. This is going to be Kyler
Murray. I was just going to say. It bears what everybody's watching. All the wide receivers got paid this offseason. Quarterbacks moved, but wide receivers got paid. What's the next step here? And what's the next domino to fall? And how do those dominoes fall based on – in part, the contract that we have given to Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to see. I think it's 2. I think it's option 2.
It was at the end of Florio's article. He writes, "It will be interesting to see whether he shows up for mandatory minicamp next week." Is there a possibility he doesn't show up? I mean,
they said they expected him.
Yeah, I would think. There's no reason to think he won't. That said, there's no clear reason to explain his handling of his broader business issues to date. Agreed.
Yeah. No, I think he'll be there. I think they'll get this. I think they'll get it sorted out. I do. But I think the money could be interesting how they do that. I would say if I were what I'm guessing they want to do, and you can't get in his head, what I would guess they want to do is a shorter term deal. and he might want that too because the salary cap's going to go up. He's going to bet on himself. That's the other thing he could do. He could do the Cousins route and be franchise tagged in back-to-back years and then hit the open market Cousins style. Like, you could do that. So bet on yourself. You got to bet against injury and everything else.
I look at it and I go, what am I missing here? What?
It's always about the money.
It is, but at some point, look, you're representing yourself.
Right.
I mean, the Ravens have already said we're ready to re-up you. Well, are you waiting for them to make you the offer first? Then you should tell them that.
Right.
Like, that's where you need to go with that. You can't just keep going, well, it'll get done. It'll get done. It'll get done. Well, it's not getting done. It's June 10th.
Yeah.
And you haven't been at any of the off-season programs.
No. I think it could come together quickly, though. And, as soon as it's just that number. You got to get that number where it's something that makes him happy. So, but it bears watching, and it continues to be interesting. Davante Adams with an interesting quote on Aaron Rodgers' looming retirement is part of the reason why he left Green Bay. He told reporters yesterday. By the way, he also compared Derek Carr favorably to Aaron Rodgers.
Not so fast, my friend.
Yeah, he goes, because this is a quote, because where I am in my career, this isn't a shot at anybody, any other quarterbacks in Green Bay. I love Jordan Love especially. He's a great guy. I got aspirations of doing really, really big things and being remembered, and it just really wasn't a point in my career that I was willing to sacrifice Aaron not being there after a year or two.
Yeah, he said he discussed all of this with Aaron Rodgers leading up to the trade. Like, he and Aaron talked through everything for the entire offseason leading up to his trade.
Rodgers seems far more ready to retire than even Brady.
Yes, agreed. I think that Aaron Rodgers, if something annoys Aaron Rodgers enough, he could retire midseason.
Yeah, I know. I think everything's in play with him.
Yeah.
You just listen to him on the golf stuff. Like, it just feels like at any point they did that round table. And at any point, it feels like he could call it a run.
He said the end is near.
Yeah, and he's 7 years younger than Brady.
Yeah.
Our old buddy Greg Williams, former interim coach here, defensive coordinator, returning to coaching as an assistant in the new XFL league.
I mean, that's
pretty perfect. He should be the head coach, honestly.
Yes.
And put him on a mic.
He should be mic'd.
He's the best soundbite ever.
He is. Best coaching soundbite that we have had.
We've ever had. I mean, it's pure joy.
Yeah. Boy.
I mean, he salvaged that Hard Knock season. That thing was a debacle. Other than that, they picked the wrong guys to follow.
Still to this day.
Hugh, being Hugh. But Greg saved it. Those little bits at the end with Greg saved it. He was good.
Yeah, that and Bob Wiley.
Bob. Hut. Yeah, Set Hut. Yeah. That's right.
I don't.
That seems like 1,000 years ago.
XFL. Again, I feel like they're between that and the other league, the USFL. Like, can both of these be sustained? Can they both be here 3 years from now?
No,
I don't think so.
So what I think is interesting is the XFL locations for this. So. LV Seattle. So it's Houston, isn't it? It's Houston, San Antonio, St. Louis, Washington, Las Vegas, Seattle, and there's two more.
Is this USFL or XFL?
No, XFL. It's those six, and then there's two more.
I mean, they still don't even have team names yet.
No. They all have coaches though. There's 8 teams. I'm missing 2, but I'm pretty sure.
Let's see. Dallas.
Oh, Dallas.
Orlando. San Antonio.
Dallas
Seattle.
And Orlando would be the other 2.
St. Louis.
Yeah. So I had Houston, San Antonio, St. Louis, Washington, Vegas, Seattle, and then the other 2 are Dallas and Orlando. So there's your 8. Okay, so can you explain to me the thinking? Because the USFL USFL is playing all their games out of Birmingham, so it doesn't really matter. But can you explain to me how or why the entire Midwest is skipped out? I mean, we care about football a great deal here. And there's nothing in Ohio. There's nothing in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania's not Midwest, but you get the point. There's nothing in Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, Indiana, nothing. I mean,
why are you putting him in NFL cities?
I have no idea. I don't know why you are.
Because where you're not going to play
Washington?
at the NFL stadiums, are you?
No way.
I can't imagine that's going to be allowed.
No, so you're going to have to find college stadiums or, whatever. But okay, so fine. I get the 3 in Texas. That makes sense. Houston, San Antonio, Dallas. Texas is one of the fastest growing states. They love their football. That makes sense. St. Louis, I guess the thinking is, well, they used to have an NFL team, so they'll probably support this if we put one there.
Probably put them in the dome.
Probably put them in the dome. Washington, I don't get at all. I don't understand Washington at all.
No, they can't get out of their own way at the NFL level.
Yeah, I don't see that. Orlando, I don't get at all either. Those games are going to be. I mean, if it's summer, those games are going to be sweat lodge.
Well, I mean, I get it because it's one city in Florida without an NFL team, and you've had the Pro Bowl there. You have the infrastructure there to do it.
I just always felt like nobody was actually from Orlando.
No,
everyone's a transplant.
Correct.
So
most
I just
of
don't
Florida.
know that anyone would care. I don't know. We'll see. Vegas, everyone's going to Vegas now, and then Seattle. I don't know. I just think it's strange that they skip over this entire region. Both the leagues did this. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Like Columbus is sitting there. They got all that corporate money. They got stadiums.
Makes all the sense in the world to do it.
You wouldn't be going up against Buckeyes. You'd be free of that. I don't know. They just skipped it. Skipped this entire part of the country.
Well, and is the XFL going to be on at the same time as the US? Like, are they going to be?
Sure. It's got to be a spring league.
I guess.
He's further along. Jeff's saying that those are in those cities because those are the original XFL teams.
But
it's fine, but why would you have to go? That was how many years ago? How many people were clamoring for?
Which, Jeff, I appreciate the info, but if you're the XFL, you already failed.
Correct.
So why do you want to go back to those cities? Like, if they failed, why do you want to relive it?
And it's not all of them. Like, there's New York, New Jersey, L.A., Memphis, San Francisco, Birmingham, Chicago. Those were original XFL teams. How many teams did they have in the beginning? They had 8. So these aren't the XFL. These aren't the original XFL teams. The original 8 XFL teams were the Birmingham Thunderbirds, Chicago Enforcers, New York Hitmen, Orlando Rage, Las Vegas Outlaws, Los Angeles Extreme, Memphis Maniacs, and San Francisco Demons. That was the original. So this isn't that. This is 3 teams in Texas. There wasn't any in Texas. This is St. Louis, Washington. The only ones that are carryovers, in fact, are Orlando and Vegas. That's it. Everybody else is new.
I mean, I feel like you could have put something in Chicago.
Well,
or even in that area.
Like if you feel like Indy is too small or Columbus is too small, I mean, I don't think there's a market for it here or Cincinnati. You've got the NFL. But yeah, Chicago's in the region, like Louisville. I mean, I would look at those. I think those mid markets with a lot of look, it used to matter if you were in a big market. That doesn't matter anymore.
No.
It doesn't matter. Market size is irrelevant.
And if you're developing a league, it might be better to put them in some smaller cities.
Well, and I mean, look at the NBA ratings for the Game 3 that was down with the Celtics and Warriors. I mean, San Francisco is a top 5 market in the country. Boston, and it's the Celtics, for crying out loud, and the ratings are down. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure I'm all in on what they're trying to do or what they're trying to accomplish. I don't know what.
I always thought the straightest path for now their schedule crosses over too much, but I thought the straightest path to, if you want more football in the United States, would be to have a Southern League of the CFL. There's the infrastructure, there's historical relevance. Like even the year that Baltimore was in there, I think they won it one year. Like weren't they the Colts? I think they were the Baltimore CFL Colts, and then the NFL said, well, you can't do that. And so they became like the Baltimore Stallions or something, but they won the Grey Cup. Like that's something that's been around a long time. It's there. There's the infrastructure. There would be an entire country buying into it. But I do think there's room for one of these. Like these things do okay. And as a feeder system to the NFL, I think it would be good if you could get that partnership and association.
I just think sometimes the expectations are so inflated.
That you have to look at it like you got to look at it like if we can get 2 million eyeballs. So that's what NHL playoffs games are doing.
Yeah.
1.9, 2 million. That's good. It's a big time deal if you can deliver those eyeballs. Like, don't minimize that. Don't compare yourself. I think sometimes we want to compare these spring leagues to, college football or the NFL. No, don't. Compare them to MLS. Compare them to NHL. Compare them to NBA. That's
MLB.
MLB.
Right now.
Those are the comparisons you're looking for. Those are the ones you're looking for. All right, coming up next, Z goes one-on-one with AVP. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. If a car, truck, or motorcycle accident caused you injury, call the injury lawyers at 1-800-ELK-OHIO for a free case review. Elk & Elk is a proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. And now Z, one-on-one with AVP.
Here with Brown.
You guys are down.
Coordinator Alex Van Pelt and Coach. 2 weeks of the OTAs now in the books. How's this offense coming along?
Still growing. That's the good news. You know, we've had good days. We've had some rough days. For the quarterback room, it's all new stuff. The most encouraging part is we don't make the same mistakes twice. So now this is the second time we've gone through these installations. We should be getting better, and it shows today.
You talked about it in your press conference. This is a passing camp. You want to get maybe 350 reps on defense. Well, guess what? We have a pretty good back seven. So are you getting a lot of good looks and a lot of good work against good competition?
Oh, there's no question. That back end for those guys, I mean, they're talented. They're really 4 deep at corner, even more. The safety play is exceptional. Their disguise has been really good so far in these OTAs, and it's a challenge for the quarterback room.
Let's talk about Deshaun. What have you seen from here in these first 2 weeks OTAs?
Very impressive. I mean, his skill set's phenomenal. I mean, he can make every throw on the field from all different body positions. It's fun to watch. His accuracy stands out. The arm strength is another characteristic that you're like, wow. He can put it in the windows that close quickly. So that's really good. So just getting him to catch up and learn as quickly as he can. But when he sees it and he fires it, it's pretty.
And it feels like it's quick. Once he makes the decision to throw it, is not a lot of body motion. It feels like it comes out very quickly.
It comes out quick with a great velocity. So those windows, they have a hard time closing on his balls.
You talked about he reminded you in some ways of Aaron Rodgers.
Mm-hmm.
In what ways were those?
His mobility, I think, his ability to make plays outside the pocket and throw off platform. Quarterbacks should be able to make plays when everything's perfect at this level. It's when things break down that we have to be great. And I think there's a lot of characteristics of Aaron in Deshaun's game when things break down.
One thing I've noticed, I've talked to some other people out here, it feels like the middle of the field is back, that we're throwing the ball to the middle of the field, attacking it much more than perhaps we have in the past. What does that do for the offense?
You got to defend the whole field at that point. So you're not just working outside the numbers. You got to defend the whole field. That makes us a better offense.
What's kind of the evolution you want to see, given the skill set? You mentioned the mobility that he brings to the table. How does that evolve this offense?
We're gonna extend plays. That's one of the areas we've talked about as a group is we're going to be out of the pocket more than we ever have. So our scramble opportunities when we get out there, we have to make them explosive gains. So we worked really hard with the whole group of what happens when we do extend plays.
Jacoby Brissett's a guy who's quarterbacked a lot in this league. He started for multiple teams. When you have a backup like that, you guys had a great one with Case Keenum as well. What does that do for the offense, and how has he looked so far?
He's looked really good. He has a great understanding of one protections, scheme, everything we're implementing. You can see it. He's definitely banked a lot of reps. Has a ton of starts in the NFL, and there's not a lot that surprises him. So to have a security blanket like that, that's played a lot of football is good.
You've been around a lot of great receivers, and Amari Cooper is the latest in that long line for you. What do you think about his route running, what he's shown so far?
Tremendous route runner. He's a savvy guy. The thing that stands out most is his strength, his play strength. He's a big guy that's explosive. When you stand across from him and watch him come off the ball, it's scary. So it's good to get him in the mix now, and as Deshaun gets to know him more, there'll be a lot of production there.
You have a couple guys that I think you're wanting to take leaps. Donovan Peoples-Jones, who's been very good each of the last 2 seasons, now in year 3, and then Anthony Schwartz. We'll start with DPJ. How's he kind of fitting in and doing so far?
Yeah, DPJ is always a pro. He does a great job. He plays a lot of different spots for us. Always consistent. That's the big thing. He's played really well in this camp. Had some big catches for us. Really excited where he is. And then with Schwartzy, here's a guy that's really starting to gain some confidence now. You can see it in his play on the field. He understands where he needs to be, catching the ball very well right now for us. So the arrow's up on both those guys.
It feels like with Schwartz, too, like even from before you guys got into the OTAs when you were doing just offense on air to where he is now, there actually has been significant progress, which I'm sure you're excited about because he is the vertical guy in this offense.
Right, no question. You think about these guys, a lot of these guys have not had this opportunity to go through a full OTA with the team setting. For the Bradleys and the Schwartzes and Nick Harrises, those guys, these reps are invaluable for them.
When you talk about David Bell, you guys are all excited. We know Coach was excited. That's as excited I've seen Kevin Stefanski get about a player. How's he looked out here? And it feels like it's certainly this week, the last couple of days, he's made some big plays, especially in the red zone.
He has, and it's all these rookies. Their heads are swimming right now. You're putting new plays in every single day. You can see a little bit in his game when he's not quite sure, his route running ability.
Sure.
But when he knows it, it's impressive. He had a nice separation on a crossing route in practice. He's done some good things. So as he gains more confidence in himself in this system, we expect more production from him too.
We've called it a passing camp.
Mm-hmm.
This is an offense that runs the ball quite a bit. We use some 12, some 13 personnel. We've seen some of that. We'll probably be a little more 11 this year. But How do you kind of work on that at this time, or is that something that comes later on?
We get off to the side. We're not banging heads out here with the defense, so we do it more in walkthrough settings versus our offensive guys giving us a look on the other side. So I think we have 4 runs in a 10-play period. It's not a lot.
Yeah.
That'll come in training camp.
This offensive line, the depth seems to be very good, and getting a guy like Chris Hubbard back, and I know Conklin's on his way back, and we haven't had Joel here yet, but we've had guys. Blake Hance fills in, looks very, very good. What do you think about this line and how Nick Harris is adjusting to being that guy at center?
No, I love our offensive line, always have. They work hard, and it shows up for sure. Nick is ready to step in. He played well when he stepped in last year. We expect him to plug that hole from JC leaving flawlessly. Jack getting Jack back, Hub back. I mean, that's a line that's played a lot of football together. And you can talk about Blake. He's played up and down the line in every position, so we feel really good about our depth.
We'll talk tight ends now, and the Chief, the big news, signs. He's been back the last 2 days. He's in great condition. He always is. How can he grow in this offense now that he's the man?
Right. Now, his big thing is just going to get more opportunities to make plays. That's the big thing for him. His targets will definitely go up for us, and we expect him to show up, which he will. He has already, so it's looked good.
And we talked about using the middle of the field more, and that's oftentimes where the tight ends live, and his ability to stretch the seam. And you go and you put on the tape of Deshaun, you see beautiful seam balls with tight ends that don't have the skills that Chief does. So this could be a great marriage for him, the offense, the quarterback, and now the opportunity.
Yeah, there's no question. David's worked hard to get into this position where he's at, and we're happy that we got him signed and he's back.
How's Harrison Bryant doing now entering year 3?
Really good. He's a guy that understands our system. There's nothing that he misses out there. He's like a coach on the field, and he's another guy with Hoop leaving. His targets will go up, his production will go up this year.
So we got, guys, this is an offense, like we said, 3 tight ends often. Miller Forrestall looks like he's been that third guy so far, and it has looked pretty good. And then you've got some projects, some Clay coming out of Texas Tech there that's pretty impressive and actually catches the ball, I think, pretty naturally. What do you kind of make of the rest of that tight end room, and has anybody caught your eye?
It's really a group of guys battling for spots. If you get down past Harrison, and David, Miller was here last year, but it's definitely guys battling for the spot. They've all looked good, and at times, it's just going to be good competition moving into camp.
The running back room, as we've talked about, not a ton of running here, some passing, but they all look good catching the ball. Kareem's had some nice catches, and I think Jerome Ford has looked real natural for a rookie.
He has. He's a guy that's worked hard. Stump's doing a great job with him, working on the side, but he's a guy that has a really good running ability as well to catch the ball out of the backfield, so it'd be exciting to see him on third down.
And we've seen Dimitrik move back to the receivers. Is that just because we haven't had some guys available, or is that something that we're going to see as this offseason?
A little bit of both. He's a utility knife for us.
Yes.
One day you'll see him in the running back room, and if we're short at wide receiver, he goes out and plays wide receiver. But he's a guy that can do a lot of things for us.
So as you sit here today, how do you feel about this offense, knowing that you have OTAs really for the first time we're able to really do this in your time here with the Browns? How do you feel about it, even though it is a whole new quarterback room, as you mentioned?
Sure, I feel I'm very positive. I like our group a lot. Adding Deshaun into the mix is an elite quarterback to come in and be your starter is excellent. Our running game has been as strong as anybody's in the league the last few years, so it's exciting times.
So you got coming up, we've got the mandatory minicamp, then the break and training camp. What are you looking forward to about the mandatory minicamp and then getting away, I'm sure, and kind of recharging the batteries?
Yeah, the mandatory minicamp's just mandatory. We've
back in 30
attendance here. Hopefully we'll get Joel back into the building next week and catch him up on some of the changes we've made. But looking forward for another 2 good weeks of work. Cap it off with a good couple days of work during the minicamp, and then everybody needs to get back, refresh, relax, and then come back ready to go into that marathon of the season.
If you could tell the fans one thing that when they come out to training camp they should expect to see from this offense, what would it be?
A dynamic, explosive offense. I think with the run game and our emphasis on the drop back pass game, I think we can put some yards and some numbers up this year.
That'll be a lot of fun, Coach. Thanks so much for the time, and enjoy the process.
Will do. Thank you.
You're up.
Yeah, big part of that process next week with mandatory minicamp. Continue to lay that groundwork, get everybody in the fold, Joel back in the mix, of course, and get everybody rolling. But we've seen some stuff we haven't seen a lot of before. We've seen Deshaun in a pistol, with running back directly behind him. We didn't run a lot of that traditionally, so Stefanski hasn't run a lot of that traditionally. We have seen some of that at OTAs, so I'm interested to see where some of those things go. I think you're going to get – this is an offense that is being – made on the fly, but they've got a lot of work that they've already put in and laying that groundwork.
Yeah, this is a lot of install. It's a lot of, we're going to show you what to do. Take your playbooks when we leave a week from yesterday, and in 6 weeks, have that bad boy memorized, because here we go. So, I want to say probably a good chunk of what they may or may not be running, they probably already have. And it's up to them at this point to watch tape, study it, figure out what you got to do, memorize it, and be ready to go. But, yeah, I mean, you met Joel Bitonio. We haven't seen Joel.
Yeah.
But he went to the Bahamas, and he doesn't have to. He's a vet that knows how to do with this.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. This is going to be just so much more dynamic offense going forward. The position that they're put in and Deshaun's ability to run and pass at the level that he can, it just opens a lot of things up. So it's going to be fun when we get into camp, and obviously even more fun when we get into the actual season and these games start to actually count. Coming up at the top of the hour, Anthony Poisal will join us here in studio. Our senior staff writer will join us. We'll go over some of the headlines for camp with him. We'll do a little higher or lower in this final hour as well on the final program of the week. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Fred, your business operations collects all the data you need, but are you having a hard time bringing it together and seeing the full picture? Well, Beau here for my great friends at EOX Vantage. They're data scientists, also business operations experts. Your EOX Vantage team is going to help you build an automated system that brings your data sources together in real time, turns them into eye-opening dashboards. You can make smart, time-sensitive decisions. Staring at spreadsheets provide insight you needed to know last month. Well, again, the EOX Vantage can help. You'll know exactly where your people stand on their activities, on their deliverables, and gauge your financial performance easily and accurately, track progress and your ROI. Check out how companies are making their business intelligence smarter by visiting EOXVantage.com. And joined now in studio by our staff writer, Anthony Poisel. Good to see you, bud.
Great to see you too, Beau. Great to be back on the show.
Yeah, so we've been... Our OTAs have been incredibly well attended. A lot of big work has gotten done. But then next week it ramps up a bit. There are a lot of things that are interesting. Chief among them will be an ability. All these mandatory minicamps will be open to everybody. So you're going to get a full look at our offense with Deshaun Watson. Right. Based on what you've seen from this month, what are the biggest differences from what this offense looked like last year? And again, this is a passing camp is really all this is. But based on what you've seen, what are some of the biggest differences?
Yeah, and I'm glad you stressed it's a pass camp because that's exactly what it is. I think now it's kind of like they're experimenting. So what I'm about to say to answer your question is not necessarily what we might see in training camp, but it is still sort of a sneak peek at what they're thinking of kind of using, the mobility that Deshaun Watson has, the arm strength, his ability to kind of throw on the run. So I would say for me, some of the things I noticed in OTAs was just how frequently they were kind of doing pre-snap motion plays, just making plays that can maybe throw the defense off guard. Maybe we'll see, in mini camp and in training camp, maybe we'll see some read option plays because it's like, the team defenses know that Deshaun has, he's got speed. So how will they kind of prepare for that? So I think they're going to kind of open up the playbook a little bit more in that regard. Now, play action was obviously a huge part of the passing playbook before. And I think that could still be, a really big part of what they kind of keep in this playbook with Deshaun and the other quarterbacks they have now at, in the room. So I think we'll see a lot more sort of that pre-snap motion style, like stuff that's going to keep the defense guessing. Okay, is Deshaun going to maybe hold the ball here? Is he going to roll out to his left, roll out to his right, like use that speed element of his game? And we'll kind of see here next week in mini camp if that's, kind of the direction they're going toward, because like you said, it's going to be full personnel. We'll be able to see everybody on offense. We'll be able to see everybody on defense. And I think that'll be a really good time for the coaching staff to kind of roll out some of the things that they're thinking about, adding to the playbook with, this new look passing offense they have.
You can't help but want to throw a lot of RPO. I mean, right. You put that in there. One of the things our fans always have been clamoring for is, Nick and Kareem on the field at the same time. And, the thing with that is you're taking a receiver off the field, that type of thing. But you could see that now with the fact of Deshaun in between them. Which way are we going with these things? It's just one more thing you have to deal with.
Right.
You have to account for Deshaun Watson's speed. And that's something that there aren't that many teams in the league that have that ability, that type of threat running the football. And Stefanski's going to use that to his advantage. Right.
And like our coaching, the coaching staff is talking about maximizing his abilities. And I feel like using, RPOs is kind of one way that you can do that. Like the defense knows that Deshaun's got speed. So why not make sure you use that to your advantage? Kind of maybe throw little different wrinkles in, like the pre-snap motion, like I was saying, like stuff that's going to throw them off. It's going to keep them guessing every single play, and they're not going to know what's coming based on personnel. You saw how well RPOs work with Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. Like it's the same deal here. Like, they got two good running backs that they can use. That it really helps when you're kind of running that type of offense. So I'm not saying it's going to be totally like what Baltimore's running. That's not what I'm saying at all.
No.
But like they could kind of open it up a little bit more, expand beyond just sort of using that play action element to keep defenses guessing, and really kind of take advantage of the fact that they have a quarterback here that is fast and knows how to make defenders miss when he's running in the open field.
Yeah, he's playing that system his whole life, so it's something he's very, very comfortable with. You mentioned we have two good backs. We've got like 5 good running backs, and it's actually probably one too many.
Right.
I know Dimitrich's been playing a lot of receiver in the OTAs, and we heard AVP with Z just a second ago talking about, hey, look, like he's our Swiss Army knife. Is there a room for all these guys? I mean, this isn't a question for next week. This is a training camp question. But Dearness's deal gets done, so you've got Nick and Kareem at the top. You got Dearness right there. Ford's been awfully impressive.
Right.
And then Felton.
I think it's going to depend on sort of what Jerome Ford is kind of able to show in training camp. Is he able to be not only just a good running back, but maybe somebody that can catch passes, take those screen plays. I think that's going to be a big part of it. Like you said, it's just a very crowded room, and the fact that now Dearness is locked under, for this year, there's just so much depth, and we can talk so many different scenarios. It's also going to depend on the other offensive positions.
Yeah.
How many receivers do they want to keep? Do they view Dimitrik as more of a wide receiver or running back? Like, those are all like the major factors that are going to go into, okay, how many running backs are they going to keep? Now, if you count Dimitrik as a running back, they kept 4 last year.
Mm-hmm.
So that's sort of like the number I have in my head right now of like, okay, that's what they're working with. Maybe if they're still viewing Dimitrik as somebody that's penciled in that running back position, then, I don't know how they'll sort of play things.
You got to pull from somewhere. If
right.
if you keep all 5, then you're going to have to pull from somewhere to make
right.
it work. So that's.
But I think Jerome Ford is definitely a player to watch, just because that is going to be sort of a difference maker in how many running backs they want to keep. This season.
He's been awfully impressive. He certainly has flashed. You mentioned the receivers, and I think when you listen to our fan base, as we stay with the offensive conversation for a moment, the thing that I keep hearing is, do we have enough receivers? Do we have the other guy on the opposite side or opposite side or slot or wherever? Right. You need a guy to take the top off the defense. Right. Well, we think Anthony Schwartz can be that. Yeah. We had him in here yesterday. Mm-hmm. He feels like he's poised to go, but he's got to do it. He's got to do it on the field.
Yeah.
I'll be very curious to see what it looks like with him next week. What have you seen from him in this month leading up to it?
Yeah, he definitely looks more comfortable and confident when he's going to the line of scrimmage. That was something that he actually, said when he was talking with the media earlier this week. So he's definitely looked fine. Obviously, just the fact that, last year he dealt with injuries, right? So just the fact that this year he's been able to be out there for every single practice is a huge step forward in sort of how he kind of prepares for the season. So, and then when you hear from, Chad O'Shea and Kevin, when they're talking about him, like they have pretty high hopes for him. I think that's part of a reason why they really haven't explored the other free agency options that are out there right now at receivers. Like, they want to give these guys a chance to step into a bigger role this year, not just Schwartz, but, Donovan Peoples-Jones as well, sort of see what David Bell can do. But specifically with Schwartz, he has looked comfortable, and just like I said, the fact that he's been able to just be healthy in practice is such a huge step for him. He said that he's just feeling more refreshed. He feels like comfortable. Like last year, he's literally said it. He was step up to the line of scrimmage, and he's like, how can I mess this play up? Like, it's like, that's not what you want to have. That's not what you want to have in your head when you're a rookie receiver, right? Or any position. So the fact that he's now, like, he's more confident in himself, he's more confident in the playbook and what he can kind of do, and beating a receiver on each play, I think is a good step. And we'll have to see over minicamp and training camp how that looks, on the field.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I think it's a necessity, because I am with a lot of the fans on this. Like, we do need that. We need that deep threat down. Now, Chief can do that,
right?
So you have that a little bit, but you do need that burner somewhere. You need somebody else to be dynamic. We feel like Donovan Peoples-Jones can take a big leap, and then David Bell is somebody who's come in and just looks like he's ready to go. But it is 3 young guys opposite Amari. I do feel like that someone needs to grab the bit a little bit there.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it would help that just the fact that, Deshaun's he's a good quarterback. He's going to be able to put the ball in the spots that they need to be in. And so that's going to help out in their development a lot too. But yeah, it's 3, you're right. It's 3 young guys, and I think they're kind of banking on having, at least 2. They want all of them, obviously, but having at least 2 of them really kind of step up and take that big leap this year. Because all of them, like when they drafted Schwartz and DPJ, they were like very, very high on them. But you knew that it was going to take a year or 2 to develop, right? So I know, we had the week 1 game with Schwartz last year where he made, that one big 44-yard catch, and you're like, wow, okay, maybe he'll
Here we go.
be able to have that a couple times over the course of the year, and it didn't pan out, and injuries and other things like that kind of played into that. But now that he's healthy and confident, like, he's definitely one of the top candidates to kind of step into that bigger role. And I think having Amari in that room will help too. He's gonna require a lot of attention, and I think that'll sort of make it easier for those guys to sort of step into that big role that the coaching staff sees from them this year.
Let's do one on the opposite side. Let's do a couple. Let's start in the middle at defensive line. This is kind of the one position group where you got to have a couple of guys really step up. Now, we like a lot of these guys, but I do think there needs to be some big separation needs to take place in camp. But we'll get a little head start on that next week.
Yeah, definitely. They've had Taven Bryan and Jordan Elliott in there so far. I think we're also going to kind of wait and see if Perrion Winfrey is a guy that can kind of step in. I don't want to say immediately, but like at least over the course of the season, kind of step in and maybe become a guy that's taken, 50% of the snaps is a big part of that rotation. That's a guy that a lot of people thought was going to be in the second round. And, Chris Kiffin said some very high things about him, just about how he's come in. He's checked every box that they kind of hoped that he could check off when he got in, which obviously one of those is just bringing in that high energy. Like Chris Kiffin literally said that there's not going to be anything in training camp that he's not ready for, as far as just like from an energy standpoint. So I think he's a guy that'll be worth watching, like a huge guy actually worth watching over training camp to see how he develops. But for now, like you said, in the interior, it's Taven Bryan and Jordan Elliott that were taking those first team snaps, and they're pretty high on them too. Chris Kiffin thinks that maybe a scheme change and just a change of scenery for Taven Bryan is going to be what kind of springs him into that career that you kind of maybe thought he could have as a first-round pick in 2018. And then with Jordan Elliott, he just said, and a lot of coaches say this about players, but he's gotten more muscle. This is his third year in the league now, and that's normally when you expect a guy that was drafted in the third round like Jordan Elliott was to sort of take that step. And I think they're really high on him.
Yeah, the back seven is so good across the board.
And that's going to help out a lot, too, with the interior.
Oh, my gosh. Those three corners are just outrageous. And Newsom's going to take a huge leap this year. It's health for everybody, but that trio is really special. The safeties are special. I think Jacob Phillips at linebacker is something.
Yeah.
But, again, health. Got to be healthy.
Got to be healthy, yeah. But that was one of the interesting things that kind of came out of OTAs, too, was just seeing him, take the snaps at the Mike position. Because that would be a big adjustment for the defense.
I mean, Rock right now is packing, what's she got, 8 helmets?
It's at least, yeah. And then another 20
Scarlett's
on the cart
got
there.
like 20 more helmets on a start. Will Scarlett's packing helmets around.
Yeah. We should take one and put them on.
I mean, jeez.
Yeah. But
Rock's getting after it. God bless her.
But, yeah, as I was saying, Greg Newsome is going to be such a weapon, I think, for his defense over the future years, just because he's going to have that capability to play in the slot and on the outside, and that's going to be really big because injuries are going to happen at that position eventually, and as long as he's healthy, he's going to be able to be that plug and play guy anywhere. I think they would feel confident in him being that number one cornerback for a week if he needed, and and he's really kind of developed exactly as they hoped when they drafted him in the first round last year. And then just getting Denzel locked down for so long was so huge too. And then, we'll see.
Feels like with him, people are finally, around the league are taking note. It's like once the contract, people started looking into his play.
Like,
he's this good. And Jamar Chase had that comment a couple of weeks ago about him being at the top level of guys that he couldn't shake.
I mean, he's like a silent assassin. There's a few games every single year where it's like, okay, this is like a sort of like a marquee matchup. It's him versus one of the top receivers in the league. I mean, it kind of happens every single week now with how many good receivers there are in the AFC. But, he's a guy that they definitely would feel comfortable shutting down any corner in the league or any wide receiver in the league now, and that's just a huge asset to have for the next 5 years now, 4 or 5 years. So and he's still young. I mean, he's still entering his prime. So I mean, he could be getting even better, which is crazy to think about. But yeah.
All right, CBS Sports ranked their top 16 AFC and NFC quarterbacks. What's your biggest beef? Do you have a beef? AFC, NFC? What jumps out?
Well, I would say the first thing that jumps out is just how much better the AFC quarterbacks are compared to the NFC. And this list really kind of helps. I mean, the one thing that I looked at was like right when you get sort of like the middle of the pack as far as the numbers, like you get to that 6-7 range, and it's like, okay, in the AFC, that's according to their ranking, it's Lamar Jackson and Deshaun Watson, and it's like those are pretty two good guys, right?
Yep.
And then you kind of get to where that is in the NFC, and you like Jalen Hurts, Kirk Cousins, Carson Wentz, and it's just like, okay, so the AFC. I mean, we knew this before we looked at the list, but seeing it actually like listed out, it made it stand out just how much better the quarterbacks in the AFC are and how competitive that conference is probably going to be this year.
You could go 10, 11 quarterbacks in the 10, 11 teams in the AFC that are. There's probably more than that view themselves as playoff contenders. There's probably 8 to 10 that think if things go their way, they can win the Super Bowl, and this is why. Right. Because there are that many franchise quarterbacks. Even the guys at the bottom of the list in the AFC, I mean, they have Davis Mills 16th. But I mean, even the guys around that, like Zach Wilson at 15. I'm not big Tua, not big on Kenny Pickett, but Wilson certainly has a high ceiling. They have Trevor Lawrence 12. If you're redrafting the quarterbacks in the league, Lawrence is going to go pretty high.
Right. I mean, it's such a loaded list. Like the only quarterback that you're like, okay, we're not really sure about this guy is like Davis Mills at the bottom, right? Like all the other guys that are at the bottom of that pack are mainly guys that haven't really had a chance yet. I mean, you can make the exception with Tua, but like Kenny, Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones, like these are all guys that, all of them are just now starting out. So
I'm wondering if Russell Wilson's too high on this list.
I had Russell Wilson, so I did a little re-rank myself. I put Russell Wilson down at 5, and it was mainly because I thought Joe Burrow belongs at 3, especially this year. The Bengals are going to have a better offensive line. Joe Burrow took 70 sacks last year.
Doesn't Burrow have to be ahead of Herbert? I know people are marvel at Herbert's arm strength.
Yeah,
but
like Joe Burrow just took the Bengals, a team last year that nobody was considering for the Super Bowl. To the Super
He
Bowl.
got hit all the time.
Right.
He completed 70% of his passes. He was clutch.
Yeah.
Like, to me, I would have him 3rd.
I think Herbert still, belongs in that top 4. I have Joe Burrow at 3 and Herbert at 4, and then Russell Wilson at 5. Although I would say with Russell, like, I wouldn't be surprised if it's not instantaneous success in Denver, just because it's a new like system for him. I don't know if Denver's like adopting their system. Like, but
what I always think was so interesting about him was like he always had this beef with Seattle. It's like they paid him. He had Metcalf and Lockett. Like, how much help do you need? Like, that's pretty good.
Right. So, and they're going to have like some younger receivers there. Obviously, Jerry Jeudy is the Jerry Jeudy connection.
Hamler's there,
super, right? Hamler. So, we'll see how it goes. He's still, a really good quarterback. We're when we compare him with the rest of the AFC, it's actually kind of crazy that he's 5. But it's just because there's so many good quarterbacks in that conference. And, we saw how competitive it was last year. And like, I think there's a chance that it's even more competitive this year.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that's kind of my only beef on the NFC side of things. The fall off is so quick. I don't really have any problem with 1 through 5.
No, I didn't either. It's like Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Matt Stafford. Like that adds up. And then it's
Wentz is 8, dude.
I know. Yeah, so 8 is Carson Wentz, and 8 in the AFC is Derek Carr, which is like there's a big difference there, right? So, but yeah, once you get past like 8, you get to Jameis.
Look at the bottom of this.
That's what I'm saying. Well, I forget who put this list together, but at 14, it was like he just threw a bunch of names. It was like Sam Darnold, Mariota, Geno Smith. It's
right,
like,
here's the
what's
dudes.
the point of rank? What's the there you go. Thanks, guys.
He's got Winston at 9, Lance at 10, who we've never even seen.
Yeah.
You can't have Goff 12, quite frankly. You can't have Goff behind Wentz.
Right. I think now with the receiving corps that the Lions have kind of put together now with you got Amon-Ra St. Brown, DJ Chark, Jameson Williams. Like that's one of the better receiving classes in the league. Yeah. Obviously, that's a lot of pressure on Jared Goff to deliver at the level that he should be delivering at with a receiver class like that. But yeah, I thought Jared Goff at 12 was a little low. I wouldn't be surprised if like he plays more towards the middle of the pack compared to last year. It was rough last year, but yeah, like I think Justin Fields is another guy that could take off if he had the kind of receiving corps that the Lions had. Like
that's honestly, you should prosecute.
I know his best receiver is Darnell Mooney, who nothing against Darnell Mooney, he's a good receiver, but like the fact that he's the number 1 after they lose Allen Robinson, and there were so many good free agent wide receivers in free agency, and
they say none.
Your number 1 is Darnell Mooney, and your number 2 is Byron Pringle, who like the Chiefs. Yeah, so
can't do that to a young quarterback,
right?
Would I take the situation? For sure.
Yeah.
I would take Goff. I would have him at like 8. I would take Goff.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, for sure. I would take him over Hurts and Wentz.
Yeah.
I'd probably have him 7.
And
for sure.
Like the thing with Trey Lance is like we haven't really seen any of him yet.
No idea.
So, and it's like were the Niners hiding him because he was just like I thought when they drafted him last year, sort of the expectation was like, okay, he's going to end up starting the games at some point during the season, and that just never really came together. So. To answer your question, Gibbs, I would be taking Jared Goff just because of the situation. I think Fields can have a better career, but
no. He played in a Super Bowl,
right? And he's got a better supporting cast this year. He's got a second year under Dan Campbell, so
he's like a younger Garoppolo.
Yeah.
It's the same type of thing. Like he's like, is he that much different than Cousins? I don't know.
No.
To me, it all feels like it's the same.
Yeah. I thought Kirk Cousins, who's ranked at 6. I know I think he threw like it was 7 interceptions last year.
Here's the deal with him. Fantasy people love him.
Right.
They love Cousins.
Because he doesn't throw interceptions.
Because he doesn't throw interceptions. He puts big yardage up. But in the big moments, it's a lot of fun. I was going to say,
like, when's the last time the Vikings have won like a big must-win game late in the season? I think they've had like 1 or 2 playoff appearances.
They had the one win in the Minneapolis Miracle.
That was Case Keenum at quarterback, though. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Did they win down in New Orleans once? Did Cousins win down in New Orleans?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
But
but
the playoffs?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. There should have been. Yeah, but there wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
No, but that's it. That's what you're waiting on. Like, well, where are your moments, man? Like, at some point, I mean, they have a great cast.
Yeah.
Like Thielen and Jefferson, Cook.
Yeah. Great cast is just not coming together. I think this is a big year for Jalen Hurts. I think he's got a chance to kind of maybe move into that top 5 this year just because now they have A.J. Brown. He's got experience under him.
Yeah.
Right. He's out of excuses. And, I think he's still got mobility as part of his game, which is a big part of what a lot of quarterbacks can kind of become quick risers in this league now is if they're able to also make plays with their feet. So, we'll see. It's a make-or-break year for a lot of the guys on this NFC list, though.
It really is. Yeah, you could see a lot of turnover. Good talking to you as always, buddy. Thanks for stopping
Absolutely,
by.
Beau. Happy. Yep.
All right, Anthony Poisal joining us here in studio on Cleveland Browns Daily. We'll get to a little bit of higher or lower coming up here momentarily. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Rumpke Waste Recycling, family owned and operated. Whether you join them as a customer or as an employee, will become part of the family. Visit rumpke.com to learn more. Hello, Gibbe.
Wait, we were stacking. Did we not stack?
We did not stack. That's on me.
It's all good.
There's
We'll do some meckling.
Danny threw me off.
Danny
That's on me.
Restaurant recommendations, and so, these things happen.
I was
all
like,
good.
I have a second. I'm going to use the restroom. It's right across the hall. What could go wrong?
You don't have a second, Gibby.
We had so much time. That's on me.
It's all good. You're fine.
That's fine. We can.
Do you want to do higher or lower here? You want to You want to have some Bobby fun?
We can do a couple other things. So, let's see. This is from John Costas.
Oh yeah.
We were talking yesterday about ideas for Scottsdale.
Yeah.
For golf, TPC Scottsdale Public, a little more cost efficient during the summer, and the players' course where they play the waste management. It's awesome. I also like both courses at Wildfire and Whirlwind Golf Course at the golf club at the casino. He had heard this on the podcast, figured I'd help as a current Phoenician. Food-wise, Ghost Ranch in Tempe, Steak 44 in Arcadia, pricey but awesome, and Little Miss Barbecue, which is a first-class barbecue joint.
That's pretty good. Dude, he's running a Chamber of Commerce.
I feel like that just happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me get down to Bobby's stuff here. All right, from Bobby Meschling. Favorite SNL sketch? I just wanted we got to give him his due. He sent us a bunch of questions, and
favorite
I usually
SNL
save him
sketch.
for the end.
Well, the ones that jump out to me that were the funniest of my youth are the Chris Farley ones, like the van down by the river. When that originally aired, that was at a time in my life where I would watch SNL. I was in middle school at that time. That was something like I was watching SNL every Saturday night. Like I was watching it, I was dialed in. So that era, like him and Mike Myers with all of the absurdity with sprockets and all that stuff, like that was must see. That was crazy, like what some of the stuff Myers was doing. But the Chippendales one with Farley, like those were always crushed.
Weekend updates with Sandler and Norm.
Oh yeah,
always
great.
Spectacular.
Do the Opera Man stuff. I'll tell you from the Farrell era, the one where the hot tub with the meats and all that, when him and the wife would sit in the hot tub. I mean, that was unbelievable with Farrell. There was one Bill Hader did where he was the guy from I Drink Your Milkshake. That was just perfect. Those are some of the ones that jump out. I'm sure there's stuff I'm missing, and there's so many during that era.
Eddie Murphy.
That's before my time.
It is,
but like
I've
the clips
seen
are
them
unbelievable.
Yeah,
clips are unbelievable. Just before my time, a little bit.
Well, going back to our conversation about the Sopranos, remember that the Journey song, "Don't Stop Believing."
Stop Believing. Yeah.
What song do you want played at your funeral? From Bobby Meschling.
Oh my goodness. My Way.
That's pretty good. That's a good pull by you.
Yeah. I mean, we're not getting any prep on these. Like, we're just getting hit with Bobby's stuff out of the blue.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the first thing that came to my mind.
I don't know. I got to think about that. Yeah.
There's that one in the there's that romantic comedy that I watch always at the Christmas with my wife, Love Actually, where the wife dies and she plays Bye Bye Baby, Bye Bye at the funeral. I thought that's kind of good.
That is good.
That's pretty good.
The first song that came to my mind was like Dropkick Murphys, sailing up to Boston, and let's just go have a rager at the pub in honor of me. I'm fine.
In honor of you, yeah.
If your house was on fire but your family and pets were safe, what 3 things would you grab?
If my house were on fire and my family and pets were safe, what would I grab? I have a couple of there's a couple of like jewelry things that I would grab. My phone, that would seem to be an important thing. You'd want to be able to call people at the fire department especially. And I have a couple of bottles of whiskey that would be easy to grab and run with.
Gotcha.
Yeah. What are you grabbing, Gibby?
I have a terabyte that has like all of my photos and everything I've uploaded over the years, from music to photos.
There you go.
I would definitely grab that. I think definitely a phone is in play. That's going to be an important item. Just make sure everybody's safe, and we'll figure out the rest. I feel like the rest can be replaced. I might throw my golf clubs in the fire and try to get a new set. It might be frowned upon.
There you go.
But, what was your first concert?
It was well, my first one was Alabama when I was a kid.
Nice.
At the Montana State Fair when I was a really little kid. I remember my parents took me to see Alabama. And then my first as a adolescent was Bush and Deep Blue Something.
Wow, yeah.
Deep Blue Something opening for Bush.
Well, didn't they do Breakfast at Tiffany's?
They did Breakfast at Tiffany's, and that was, that was it.
It was in my Q104 days.
Yeah, that was there. And then that was around. So then Pearl Jam used to open every world tour in Missoula, Montana, because Jeff Ament is from Montana. So that was always a must. But that was all around that same time. There was I feel like I did see Bush twice because I also saw them it was No Doubt in Bush.
Yes.
No Doubt open for Bush.
Yeah, because Gavin and Gwen.
And then away they went. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Mine was Milli Vanilli. Not kidding.
How? Here?
Yeah, at the Coliseum.
Come on.
Blame it on the rain.
I mean, these guys could bring a hit, man. They absolutely could.
Fantastic. Who knew that they weren't singing?
No. How? Right. Who cared?
Yeah, my uncle took me. Pretty funny. I can't even ask you this in the event someone's listening. What is one thing you don't want your kids finding out about your past?
Too long and too distinguished,
yes.
Bobby.
Yeah, there's a follow-up to that too, but jeez. If you could have dinner with anyone from history, who would it be? My God, Bobby.
Anyone from history?
Yes.
I don't know. Julius Caesar? Warn him about Brutus? I don't know. That's a tough one. I got that. There's a lot of ways you could go with that one. Anyone in history?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. I got to have someone who knows how to have a little fun. Can't be a stick in the mud.
Yeah, I think that's they did that episode of Curb on that. Like, are you a middle or are you an end? Like that, type of thing.
Yes,
like LD
I
would
that.
be fun to have dinner with LD. I would imagine. Yeah. I don't know. That's tricky. Good job at it, Bobby.
Yeah, there were like 40 questions. That was just a
comes in
quick
hot.
little snippet.
He comes in hot.
Yeah.
All right, we'll do a little higher or lower coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Lots of bad advice out there about gambling, from secret methods to picking lottery numbers to betting big when you're on a roll. The myths can lose you money and get you in a lot of trouble in the process. So before you wager, find out what's real and what isn't at keepitfunohio.com. This is on Twitter, so I'm guessing it must be true. Miss X tweeting me, "This is the woman who got through 6 years of college listening to you daily. My cousin dated the guy from the band who made Breakfast at Tiffany's when she was a teen, long before he became famous." Good job.
What?
Her cousin dated the guy in that group, the Deep Blue Something group, apparently. I mean, it's on Twitter. It must be real.
I mean, she tweeted at you, so sure.
So she knows it. Yeah.
I'm in. Like, that wouldn't be something that you would just randomly go and make up.
No. I mean, who would claim such a thing?
I don't think so. Okay.
Yeah. It's a catchy tune.
I got to feel it was a one-hit wonder. I don't think there was anything else that came.
No.
They might have tried,
No.
but I don't remember seeing anything else.
No. It felt like that was it.
Yeah. A little higher or lower, presented by our great friends at the Ohio Lottery. Paulus, you're going to play. I know you're just finding out, but
Sounds good.
it'll be great. Today, in honor of Mr. Bishop and his other position, the top 25 coach rankings in college football per Bill Bender, our good friend, and the Sporting News. Should the following coaches be higher, closer to number 1, or lower, closer to number 32? Paulus, hit it.
Higher or lower?
All right. Number 1 was Nick Saban. Are we all in agreement that Nick Saban should be number 1?
Yeah, that's not
100%. Yeah.
There's no conversation to be had around that.
The number 2 could be, though. Number 2 is Dabo Swinney, Clemson. Higher, lower, or just right, Bishop?
Look, it can be accurate that no one has built something more impressive quicker than Dabo Swinney. I mean, it's as impressive as any build you've seen. Like, he took the natural things that Clemson had going from them, but he took Clemsoning, and then all of a sudden he got Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence, and he won 2 national titles at a place that last sniffed one in the early 80s and was known mostly as choke artist. So you can be appreciative of all of that and also say that he has lost his fastball, because those two things are true. He's not recruiting at the level he was a couple of years ago. This is a big year for them. They're really good on the defensive line. DJ Uiagalelei is back at quarterback for them, but they need him to be really good. They were awful last year offensively. He should not be 2, though. It should be Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart should be 2. He just won the national title. He is recruited at a level that is very high. You could argue Dabo versus Ryan Day. They have Ryan Day at 4. I think Dabo should be ahead of Day, but I think it's close. But I think the guy that number 3 should be number 2, and that's Kirby Smart.
Nick Paulus.
No, 100% with Beau. Kirby should absolutely be number 2. Dabo, you could argue for 3 or 4, but just because of the 2 national championships. But I think that's mainly due to Deshaun as well as Trev. But yeah, there's no way. I think that he's definitely lost his fastball, and I think last year was a sign of it.
Has he lost his fastball because he's in the ACC, which is just a horrible football conference?
Yeah, I mean, he's had a bunch of missteps too, Gibbe. I mean, he had the missteps on saying that guys shouldn't be paid. He's missed out on a lot of stuff. Yeah, and so it's a big year for him. It's a really, really big year.
Next.
And now that Venables is gone, it's we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Higher or lower?
Kirby Smart was number 3. We all agree he should be up to number 2. Ryan Day is at number 4. Bishop, higher, lower, just right?
It's just right. The only thing missing on the resume is just national championship. They are the one program in the North, and probably the only program in the North that can recruit with Bama, recruit with Georgia consistently. He's won a ton. He's missing just the national title on the resume. Everything else is there. He's even elevated it from the standpoint of they're signing the best high school quarterbacks in the country to go to Ohio State. That was something that had never happened until he got there in terms of pro-style guys. So, no, it's an appropriate ranking for Ryan. I have no issue with him at 4.
Paulus.
He's 34-4. Absolutely. He should be number 3 or number 4 on this list.
Next.
End of story.
Higher or lower?
Luke Fickell is number 5. Big spot there for Luke Fickell. Number 6, Brian Kelly and his Southern accent at LSU. Takes us to number 7, Lincoln Riley, USC, 55-10 career record. He leaves Oklahoma, goes on to USC. Bishop, higher, lower, or just right for one Lincoln Riley?
I think Lincoln Riley should be 5th on this list, and I have full respect for Luke and what he did at Cincinnati and the way that he pulled that off. But Lincoln Riley, you could argue, I think very plainly, that he's maybe salvaged and saved the Oklahoma program, and then he burned it to the ground. But his immediate impact at USC is eminent. He is like Ryan Day in the sense of kids are going to want to go play for him because of the way they play offensive football. He had 2 straight Heisman winners. He had 3 straight Heisman finalists. It's 2 straight number 1 pick overall. All of that, I don't understand how he's behind Brian Kelly. That makes absolutely no sense. So I would have him higher than where he is at 7.
Nick Paulus.
He absolutely should be higher. 5 is probably the sweet spot for him. Brian Kelly needs to move down, absolutely. Hot take, I don't think he's going to do very well at LSU. I think people are going to see right through his fakeness that he has. And Luke, I like Luke a lot, but come on, Lincoln Riley is going to resurrect the USC coaching job and position there in Southern California. That is football. The Rams aren't LA. The Chargers aren't LA. USC is LA.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I think Brian Kelly, that could go down in flames. That could be
He's
a
so
colossal
phony.
explosion.
Yeah, I think it's one of the most fascinating moves that they hired him. I mean, the only reason Lincoln Riley is at USC is because he was willing to listen to LSU, and USC said, wait a second, we can get him, and that's what allowed for all of that. I think Kelly was a situation where they had to have a dance partner, and so they landed on him. I think it's a tough fit. I really do. I think it's a really tough fit. The one thing about that job, though, is it's a great job. They've won 3 national titles the last 20 years with 3 different coaches. So that's a pretty remarkable thing. And the in-state talent. The one thing about LSU, we could talk to Delpit about this, or OBJ or Jarvis when they were here, Greedy, Jacob Phillips. If you grew up in Louisiana, you grow up wanting to play at LSU. So the recruiting pitch, you just have to be competent, and you get most of those guys.
Yeah, exactly. Next.
Higher or lower?
All right, I got to throw him in here. Number 8 was Jimbo Fisher. Higher, lower, just right. Paulus, we'll start with you.
8 seems kind of right. I mean, I don't view him as like the world beater as a head coach. I think that he's a good coach. I think that his best year was obviously with Jameis at his height of Jameis. So I think 8's probably about right.
So he's won 70% of his games, or the same amount of games, percentage of games as Nick Saban has won, both against top 25 competition and in the college football playoff. So that gives you the idea that he was punching up against Saban is insane. Like, settle down, little dude. Nick's exactly right. So he has Jameis in 2013 and 2014. 2012, he had E.J. Manuel at Florida State, who was a first-round pick. They went 12-2. He goes 14-0 with Jameis as a redshirt freshman. They win the national title. Jameis wins a Heisman. The next year, they go 13-1. These are the other records. These are the records for him the rest of the time. 10-4, 9-4, 10-3, 10-3, 5-6 at Florida State. At Texas A&M, he's gone 9-4, 8-5, 9-1, 8-4.
I feel like he's the Kirk Ferentz of the SEC.
He's the Jim Harbaugh of the South.
And yet, he's got $100 million in contracts because he parlays any sort of interest, mostly from LSU, into contract extensions and raises, first at Florida State and now at Texas A&M. But he's got Texas oil money now behind him, so look out. That's why they were able to buy that class.
Next.
Higher or lower?
Jim Harbaugh is at number 9. Kyle Whittingham.
That's a joke, by the way. That's a joke. Harbaugh.
Absolutely.
9. That's a clown show.
Where would you put him?
Further down.
15th.
Would you put Kyle Whittingham at Utah ahead of him?
Yes.
Mario Cristobal?
Have to see, but I mean, I
Jim's better than Mario.
He lost Lloyd Carr's grandson to Notre Dame,
which is hilarious. Hilarious.
That can't happen at Michigan. He does not have a quarterback signed in the 22 or 23 class, I'm pretty sure. The idea that That's unbelievable. He knew that it was a one-year thing against Ohio State when he beat him this year. He did everything any good. He interviewed with Kwesi on National Signing Day.
Yes.
He wanted out. He knew it.
I'm
tell
not
you what,
saying
whatever the over is in the shoe, bet it.
Yeah,
Ryan Day is going to score 80. C.J. Stroud in the
drop
fourth
100.
quarter. Yes, he will score as much as he can in
All
that
right,
game.
I'm going to jump to the very end because we're up against it. But Bill Bender also ranked all 131 coaches, not just top 25.
Of course Bill did.
Because he's thorough and competent and amazing at what he does. The worst coach in the Big Ten is Greg Schiano.
That's not fair.
Rutgers, 63.
That's not fair. Greg Schiano has accomplished more at Rutgers than some of these guys ahead of him. How is Greg Schiano behind Scott Frost? That's been a disaster.
Yeah, of epic proportions.
Another one he gets wrong. He's got Lane Kiffin way too low. You might not like Lane Kiffin, but his impact's immediately felt when he goes to a place and coaches there.
Would you put him ahead of Mark Stoops in Kentucky?
Kiffin?
Yeah.
They go about it different ways. I probably would. Like I think if Lane Kiffin would have been the job at LSU, got the LSU job, then they would be recruiting the way Georgia's recruiting. It's just Ole Miss is a little tougher sell.
Yeah. All right, gentlemen. Higher or lower for this week?
All right, so much more to come. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Next week, mini camp. We're all here, Gibby.
Let's go.
It'd be fun.
We'll get some fine content out of that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a fun week. I think down in Canton will be fun. Going to the stadium on Thursday will be fun. So you'll have that to look forward to, which is very, very nice. You will have the next level to listen to, which is very, very nice as well. That is coming up next. We're back on Monday. Cleveland Browns Daily, 8:50 ESPN Cleveland.